Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nobody Is Shiftier, because that's right, nobody is shiftier than the Shifty Hippo. Now, this week's going to be a little bit different than last week, being that I'm not doing this live. It's probably going to take a little bit of the pressure off. Also, I figure since I wasn't able to give any kind of time frame to Zach and Hector as to when I was going to be doing this, probably wouldn't have made sense to have them promote something that I wasn't sure when I was going to start this thing up. So I'm doing it now. This is going to come out post production, and that's all right. We're going to have fun with it. I actually was just talking with Hector of breaking down the tape here a little bit ago about trading in his Wii and a bunch of his Nintendo Wii video games. So, guys, make sure you hit us up. Nobody is shifty or breaking down the tape. Hit us up. Let us know what you think GameStop would give you for a Wii right now. Because I told Hector that I think it's more worth him just reacting the scene from Anchorman, reenacting it, going out to a bridge, take the Wii, punt it off the bridge. I don't think you're going to get anything for that. But to that, I digress. Today on Nobody Is Shiftier, we are going to talk about a little more NFL news. As always, we'll cover Major League Baseball. We're going to cover NHL, going to the NHL finals. That should be fun. And we got the NBA finals going on right now. So the place that we're going to start today is the NFL, because we know that the NFL is king. So we're not going to bypass any of the other points to anything else going on, because I could tell you whatever I want about the NBA, I could tell you whatever I want about the NHL. I could give you every fact about MLB right now. You don't care. You want to hear about football. First thing that we're going to start with, some retirements. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Frank Gore pretty much simultaneously retire. Now, I think most people in this audience are going to know that Frank Gore is third all time in rushing yards. And obviously, that is incredibly high. I mean, he's only behind Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton. That's a huge part of a list to be on. Granted, if you ask me if I think Frank Gore is the third best running back of all time, absolutely not. Like, I don't even know if I'd have him top 10. Probably wouldn't. But I do think that Frank Gore, via just keeping at it, he's had preservation, longevity. He's had things that a lot of other running backs haven't been able to achieve. And whatever the secret is, personally, I think it's that he went to the University of Miami, and, you got to learn to be physical. You got to learn to be tough when you play in Miami. You got to learn to live tough when you live in Miami. So I think that that's where Frank Gore gets a lot of that from. But as he goes into the Hall of Fame, third all time, because he's going to make the Hall of Fame. They're not going to keep out the third all time rushing leader in the NFL in its history. Ryan Fitzpatrick, here's an interesting one. I myself think there is not a shot in hell that Ryan Fitzpatrick gets into the Hall of Fame. I really don't. And I don't even bring this up to have people discuss this as a topic, because I don't think that you could. He didn't really do anything. But I do want you to think of this. Out of everybody that's ever played quarterback in the NFL, Ryan Fitzpatrick is 32nd all time in NFL passing yard history. Now, you might say, well, 32nd. I mean, Colby, what the hell is that? Like, that's not really that impressive. That's not third all time. First, I want you to think about how much Ryan Fitzpatrick actually came to a team and was an immediate starter and started the whole season. Not a lot. A lot of times he was there to be the backup and took over when the starter was either terrible or injured. Oftentimes that he was brought in as yes, you know what, we're going to go to you as our starter. It was with teams that were garbage. Let's be honest. Ryan Fitzpatrick never really got the shake of, okay, you know what, good team, great offensive players. We just need a quarterback here. Let's insert Ryan Fitzpatrick and see what that looks like. Ryan Fitzpatrick never got that. And, not that I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is this significantly better quarterback than he was. I have forever said that Ryan Fitzpatrick is just the perfect NFL backup. But that is impressive as hell that he is 32nd all time in passing yards throughout the history of the NFL. And for any of you that do not know exactly how quantifiable that is, I just want to put it into some perspective for you. Here are some of the names that are below him on this list. Not above, below. We've got Tony Romo. We've got Steve Young. We've got Troy Aikman. We've got Kurt Warner. And we've got Kirk Cousins. Those are some of the names of guys that are below Ryan Fitzpatrick as far as what it is that he has done throughout the process of his career from a passing yard standpoint. Now, the reason that I threw in Kirk Cousins is because that's an active player. So that's somebody that you can compare to as it is going along. This isn't something where we're talking about some of these retired guys, because yes, I think anybody that's ever looked into Troy Aikman's career would know, yeah, Troy Aikman's numbers really don't actually shine. It's just that he had the 3 championships, and a lot of people would say that is one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. Steve Young, I think, is the most underrated quarterback in NFL history. Still less than Ryan Fitzpatrick as far as the passing yards throughout a career standpoint. Tony Romo, I thought Tony Romo was going to be somewhere in the teens on this list. I was actually surprised to see that he was as far down this list as he was. But I wanted to throw Kirk Cousins in there because that's a good comparison of a guy that's thrown for a lot of yards, still has an active career, and he's still a little ways away from Ryan Fitzpatrick. So we got to see some pretty big retirements this week that, although they don't sound like much because they haven't been much in recent years, that's 2 names that are now out of the NFL. And, shout out to them. You gave us a great career. You gave us a great time. Now, some other NFL news that I got. I've been seeing tweets because I follow a lot of Seahawk Twitter accounts, the different Seattle media entities. And one of the things that I saw was that Seattle boasts not only potentially, but probably a top 5 defense in the NFL this year. Okay. Okay. Cool. Tell me where that's happening. If any of you looked at our pass rush last year, we were 24th in the NFL. So that's not great. And I know that we added Boye Mafe. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. That's what I seem to remember from draft day, but I have not heard anybody talk about him since. So I'm not 100% sure. I think he's undersized and he's going to get smothered by everybody in the NFL from an offensive line perspective. He's going to have like 3 sweet highlight reel sacks a year. And I don't know that he gets more than 5 total sacks beyond that. Like, not beyond the 3. I think that 5 is pretty much the cap that we're going to see. This reminds me a lot of when you look at his college tape, he was not somebody that had any production value when he played against the better teams with the bigger offensive lines in NCAA football. What this says to me is, well, what's going to happen when he goes up against all the greatest guys from college football into the NFL stage? He's not going to generate anything. I think he's going to have 3 sweet highlight plays a year. He'll have another 2 sacks, and that'll be about it. And then 3 years from now, we're going to be sitting here going, why did we draft him again? That's what I honestly think. And granted, I'm going to be rooting for the guy. It's one of my guys. I want him. But I can't sit here and legitimately tell you that I have any faith that that's going to be something that's going to change our pass rush. And we've got a little bit of pass rush talent on the team, but it's not anything that's going to be significantly better than 24th. So we're not going to be generating a pass rush. I think we are good at linebacker. I will admit that. I think that with Jordan Brooks and Cody Barton, we're going to be just fine there. We might even be bringing KJ Wright back and onto the team. He's been hanging out at practices a lot lately. I got a feeling we're probably going to end up scooping him up, having him be a roster spot, and he'll be able to play intermittently at the linebacker position. I think he still has enough to be able to give it a go as long as he's not always going. I think we're going to be fine there. I think we're going to be fine at safety. Granted, I think Jamal Adams plays more so like a 4th linebacker than he does like a 2nd safety sometimes. However, I think he's very effective. Quandre Diggs, I think, is a gem that nobody knows about. He made a Pro Bowl last year, but he is one of these ball hawk kind of safeties that I think a lot of people don't realize he even exists. It's like a hidden gem for us in Seattle. Well, us in Seattle. I live in Connecticut, but of Seattle fans, I think that Quandre Diggs it might be the best piece that we currently have on defense. But I go back to the question, who the hell is playing corner? Because in today's NFL, you have to be able to cover these receivers. Like if you can't cover the receivers, your safeties can only do so much. So what? Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams maybe take away the deep threat. Cool. So they're just slanting us to death. Whoever we're playing, doesn't matter who, except for like Jacksonville. They won't be able to even do that. But beyond that, who's not going to be able to pick apart our defense just by thinking and dunking? Because right now we got Trey Brown and Sidney Jones. They did have a better season than I anticipated. They really did. Because going into the season, I said, you know what? They might as well call me to play corner because I at least know how to play the position. I played it in high school. Well, they did better than that. They were. I will give them that credit. But when it comes to people thinking that all of a sudden we have a defense, well, we have no pass rush and we have no coverage from the corner position. Because I know we drafted these guys, Kobe Bryant. Yes, his name is Kobe Bryant. And we drafted Tariq Woolen. But these guys, although possess a lot of talents, I don't know that they're immediate day one starters. To say that the Seattle defense is going to be top 5 in the NFL this year is absolutely absurd. It's not even going to be close. I mean, hey, if they end up being, 14th, I'll be psyched. But I think that we have a lot of work to do defensively still. And also keep in mind without Bobby Wagner here, this is going to be a whole new chemistry for this defense. I just don't see it happening. The other piece of Seahawk news that I have to bring across the table here, headline: Seahawks restructure Shelby Harris contract. Big roster move on the way? No. That's freeing up room so that we can re-sign DK. like that's all that is. Who are we going to bring in? Like what's the big move we're going to make? What are we going to do? Add another receiver? We got DK, we got Tyler Lockett, we got Dwayne Eskridge, who didn't get to play a whole lot in his first season, but showed a little bit of promise, even though I wasn't really happy with the draft pick. And we still got Freddie Swain out there. What's it matter about receiver? Like, we're not going to do that. What are we going to go get a quarterback now? Every good quarterback is already in position, except Baker Mayfield. I don't want to put my hopes and my next 3 years on Baker Mayfield. I'd rather, honestly, just be terrible and get somebody that's going to be better than Baker Mayfield. That would be the goal for me. So I don't know where this headline comes in. I just don't know who they think we're trying to make space for. Like, what big move is Seattle planning behind the scenes by restructuring the contract of Shelby Harris? We're talking about a decent defensive lineman. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, hey, we restructured, like Tom Brady will always go and restructure so they can re-sign everybody that's good on the team. That's not what this move is. This move is just to create a little bit more cap space. So up front, we can give DK Metcalf more money. Because that was the other part of the headline. It says adds cap space. Well, that's why. So that we can put more upfront money in DK's new deal. Because I guarantee that that's where the difference is right now. He's probably fine with the total money, but he wants more of it up front. Well, Seattle said, shit, we got to make room for that. Shelby Harris? Can we restructure? Back end your deal a little more? Backload it? Yeah, that's what that is. So we're going to move over to Major League Baseball news. And here is what has come across the table to me. Nobody gives a shit. So we're going to move over to the NHL. Now, Tampa was able to beat the Rangers in 6 games. The Rangers took a 2-0 lead, and the Lightning were able to reel off 4 straight. Now, with that said, I don't want to talk too much. I'm not here to blast on the Rangers. I'm not here to do any of that because I am trying to do my best not to poop on Zach and his hockey team. However, going into the Stanley Cup Finals now, we have the storyline that we wanted from the start. We have now the team going for the three-peat against what was the best team last year and damn near the best team this year. as far as regular season play goes. I think this is a very interesting storyline for the Stanley Cup Finals. Obviously, tonight is game one. We got the Tampa Bay Lightning at the Colorado Avalanche. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it starts up at around 8 Eastern. I'm not 100% sure. Have to look that up. I'm probably going to be recording another show during the majority of that game, but I plan to watch. Second note to this, if Tampa three-peats, if they actually go through and make this happen, they three-peat as champions, where does that put them? Not necessarily in the history of sports, but at least in recent sports as far as a dynasty is concerned. Because you think back, some of the dynasties that we've seen Shaq and Kobe with the Lakers. They three-peated. We saw the Patriots, who really over the course of damn near 20 years pretty much took over the entirety of everything that was going on in the NFL. They were just winning title after title after title. Now, we look at the Spurs, who over the course of about 15 to 20 years did something similar to the Patriots. They won a ton of titles in that time frame. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 5. We see the Miami Heat from 2010 to 2014, and I know they only won 2 titles, but they deserve to be in this conversation. And then we see the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, whether Durant's there or not, still somewhat similar to the same team because those were great teams. They were the best team in the NBA, and then because they lost in the finals, added Kevin Durant. Obviously, this is a team that we're talking about as a dynasty. They won 3 titles over the course of 4 seasons. Like this is a pretty big deal, and they went to 2 other championships in that time frame. So when I look at the Lightning, in all seriousness, and I know this is going to sound maybe a little bit of a hockey slight, but I think of all of those other teams as greater teams than what this Lightning team has been, even as somebody who's generally rooted for the Lightning over this time period. I think that the Lightning have done something incredibly impressive, but when I think of Shaq and Kobe, I immediately go, "Oh yeah, one of the best teams that was ever playing." Shaq was unstoppable back then. For those of you who were not watching Shaq play in the year 2000, you missed a show of just dominance. There might not have been a more dominant player in NBA's history than Shaq in his prime. I think of those Spurs teams and I think of those Pats teams. I think of them pretty similarly. The greatness wasn't all up front. They didn't show you 3 years of, "Oh my god," and then faded out. They just kept a consistent structure throughout the course of damn near 20 years. They made it work. That's a different kind of greatness. When I think of the teams that were actually at their best, the greatest, I actually think that that would be between the Heat in 2010 to 2014 and the Warriors from 2015 to 2019. Those 2 teams, when they were on, there was no beating them. There just wasn't. And I know a lot of people wanted to give the Heat all this shit, and I get it. They choked in 2010. They really did. But though those other 2 seasons, or the 2011 season, I suppose, they they really crushed it in 12 and 13. You might remember they won 27 straight games, which was, if I'm not mistaken, second all time in straight games won. And it was only a few behind the 72 Lakers, if I am not mistaken, as far as where that record had lied. And it was only about 4 or 5 games more. Now, I think it's an interesting conversation to have because I also realize that I might be doing a thing where I'm making hockey lesser by saying the Tampa's three-peat wouldn't compare with any of these teams. But I honestly just don't think that it does. I think hockey's too random to be able to say this is more impressive than any of those others. Because I think oftentimes in those other sports, the better team wins. I don't think that's always the case in hockey. I think hockey is more often decided by a mistake than it is through anything else. You can talk about, like, I know that the Lightning have this just immensely overpowering power play. But outside of that, is there really any one thing that they do that you just look at and go, oh, nobody else can do that. I don't think that they do. I think it's just that power play. Because even when you look at some of the stuff that you see from Kucherov and Stamkos, there's other guys in the league that can still do exactly the same stuff. It's just not as well built to the whole team. And yeah, you can make the argument that that's the case in the NBA, except that nobody can do what Steph Curry can. Nobody can do what LeBron can. There's guys in the NBA that just there is no replicable person to even quantify that as being a challenge or some sort of adversary. It's all the same groupings of people. And then there's the above. With Tampa, they got guys that are great, but there's guys in the NHL that can do the same stuff. So we go into the series, and two things that I want to bring up, one of which Tampa has now that they're in their third straight finals, and they've also played three more playoff games than Colorado has. I wonder if there is such a thing as fatigue in hockey, because we know that these players are all nut jobs. Like, none of these guys are coming out here and nobody's even healthy. These guys are all crazy. But when we look at what it is that Tampa's gone through over the last few seasons and even this playoff run, and then we look comparatively to Colorado, I say to myself, Colorado's got to be the more rested team here. I just don't know how much that actually is applicable to hockey because these guys play on broken legs and shit. They're nuts. These guys are crazy. So I don't know where it is that could potentially fall in line, but it is something I find interesting and something that I think we're going to have to pay attention to the series to find out the answer to. I've never heard of such a thing as hockey fatigue. It's very clear in the NBA. Teams that make it to the conference finals one year very rarely make it again the next year. And it's because they had to play longer into the season. They didn't get as long as an off season. And when you see teams that have gone through winning two titles, well, shit, they get to that third year and they're just like, again? Like, they get tired and you can't really blame them. So I don't know if that happens in hockey or not. And I think that this is going to be an opportunity to see that in because I personally hadn't paid any attention to it in really throughout my life in hockey. The other piece of this that I want to bring up here, Colorado comes into the series scoring 4.64 goals a game and allowing 2.86. So clearly they have been a pretty well offensive juggernaut team. I don't think that we'd be remiss to say that Colorado has not performed incredible offensively. You'd probably prefer to give up less goals a game, but they had that series against Edmonton, and Edmonton can just that Connor McDavid is just so damn good. Like you can't really blame Colorado for giving up some goals against Edmonton. Tampa, on the other hand, is only scoring 3.06 goals per game. So that's about a goal and goal and a half less a game than Colorado is. Now they're giving up a little bit less, a little under 2.5 goals a game. However, if you look outside of just the Florida Panthers series, and honestly, I think that the Lightning are in the Panthers' head, they're giving up roughly 3 goals a game. They're a 2.91. And I think to an extent, it's worth removing the Florida Panthers series from this particular part of the equation, and not just because they swept them. Colorado had 2 sweeps. Yeah, you could take those away. But I actually legitimately think that the Tampa Bay Lightning are inside of the Florida Panthers' heads. And Florida, for those of you who didn't realize this, the Florida Panthers scored 6 or more goals more often throughout the regular season than they scored less than 3. That is incredible. That is something you never see in hockey. And then just nothing. That tells me that Tampa's just in their head. Tampa knocked them out of the playoffs last year. Tampa's just always been that team over the last Florida's gotten better and better over the last about 5 years. And Tampa's just been the roadblock they cannot get by. So when I remove that from the series, there's about another half a goal a game that comes up as far as what Tampa's given up. So I think Colorado has the advantages check that shit out, huh? The advantages here. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say here, not an additional is. So take that for what you will. And that leads to the question, who you got? And as I say this, I realize that I am going to have to build some social media entities for this show because otherwise, you're going to be sending everything you've got to breaking down the tape. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you get your social media, wherever you get your podcasts, because I don't have any of my own shit set up yet. Nobody is Shifty or doesn't have its own necessarily. Well, it doesn't have a social media presence. So as I ask who you got, I was about to say send to Nobody Is Shiftier on social media, and then just realized I don't have one yet. So I'm gonna have to jump on that, huh, guys? Now, before we get to the NBA, we're gonna do something that's gonna be a pastime on this show. It's gonna be America's great pastime. I'm not doing anything else till I drink the rest of this beer. How are you guys doing today? Got a little bit of this beer left. Just what's going on in your life? Got anything fun? Anything interesting? That sounds nice. That sounds nice. All right, guys. So we're going to get to NBA finals here. We're going to cover a little bit of what happened in game 4, a little bit of happened in what game 5, and a little bit of a series overlook here. We're going to start off in game 4. Now, I know that I wasn't able to cover game 3 with you guys, but game 3 was so damn long ago. Wait, I don't want to go back and cover that. So game 4, I think that the emergence of Jordan Poole is probably the most annoying thing in the world to me because Steph Curry is, as most of you know, my least favorite player in basketball. He changed the game and he changed it for the worst. I hate the way that he plays, and I don't like him. It is what it is. It's fine. Everybody can get over it. It doesn't mean I don't think he's great. I think he's a top 3 point guard of all time, or at least right at that precipice. I just don't like him. Now, he's a cheat code. Klay Thompson is a cheat code, and he's always been there. They've been the Splash Brothers. But now you've added in this third guy who's just emerged, learning off of the ways of these two, and is starting to do all this shit himself. Jordan Poole has become the third cheat code that the Golden State Warriors possess, and I absolutely despise it. It is just annoying watching this dude do the same exact shit that Steph and Klay do, and it works almost just as well. Obviously, nobody does it better than Steph, but Klay does it pretty damn well. And there was a time when I think Klay Thompson was actually probably even better at it than Steph. And it just wasn't necessarily his team. It wasn't the way that the team ran. So Steph got more of that. Now, Jordan Poole clearly is third fiddle here, but the man can play. He's just good. And by third fiddle, I just mean out of those 3, because we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other players on this team coming up. Now, speaking of those other players, Andrew Wiggins, very sneaky 17 points and 16 rebounds this game. And I think that there is starting to become a secondary conversation that we're going to have after the game 5 conversation. Now, for game 4 here, this game is when I finally started to see Marcus Smart, or in this particular case, because if we're talking about Marcus Smart in the finals, we got to do it with the Boston accent. He becomes Marcus Smart. All right. We finally got to see Marcus Smart's impact on the game defensively. He started creating some trouble. He was pickpocketing. He was drawing some fouls. He was doing things just to piss people off. He was playing his game. I know that they end up losing this game inevitably, but it was really good to see Marcus Smart get into his form, because when Marcus Smart is playing Marcus Smart basketball, the Celtics have a much better chance of winning, as long as Marcus Smart isn't just shooting the ball as much as he feels like, because he's really just not that good at it. But if he's playing defense, and he's playing incredibly active defense and just being annoying as shit to whoever he's guarding, regardless if it's Steph Curry or Draymond Green. The man can annoy anybody, and I love watching that. And like we got to see, I think it was game 3 where there was that tangle up with Jaylen Brown and Draymond Green, and Draymond had his legs dangling over him and had one of them kind of on his head. And Jaylen Brown got all pissed off and shoved him. Draymond should have gotten a second technical foul and didn't, because he's now immune to the second technical. You might notice if you watch that replay back, Marcus Smart came out there just ready. He's like, no, 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 Jaylen, get out of here. This is my fight. I love that about Marcus. It's a nice quality that he's got. He wants to be the guy that does all the annoying shit. He wants it to all be on him. So somebody does something annoying to one of his boys, he's coming out there to annoy the shit out of them. And that's what I love about Marcus Smart's game. Now, Boston didn't score from 5:18 left in the game till there was a minute 32 left. You might remember in game 4, this game was close, like super close. Boston actually had the lead, and then they went on a 4-minute scoring drought, just nothing dropping. You can't have that against Golden State, dude, because they will inevitably make something. They make stuff off of shots that shouldn't even be taken. Like there'll be times when Steph pulls up and he's like 32 feet from the basket, and it just drops. You hear just that's it. You know that they're eventually going to put something in. You cannot go on scoreless droughts like that. Just impossible to beat them that way. Now, Steph Curry goes for 43 points and 10 rebounds, and everybody's going, this is the finals performance we needed to see. Now, I know there's a lot of people that had looked into his stats coming into this series as far as what he's done in the finals in the past. And a lot of people have made mention that he does score 26 points a game in his finals career, which is more than guys like Kobe Bryant, for example. But Steph's never won that finals MVP. So a lot of people have just assumed that Steph's played poorly in the finals. Here is the thing that I want to throw out to everybody in the audience is that Steph Curry has actually had some real shit games in the finals where he's had problems just because Matthew Dellavedova's been on him. And for anybody that wants to say that Steph Curry is this great finals performer and we just saw it for the first time, you're wrong on both counts. It's not the first time we've seen him be great, but he's also always put up a shit game or two in the finals. That's something that most of the all-time greats just don't do. They don't have an off game that's so off that they're ineffective. And granted, Steph hadn't had one up to that point. And even as we get into game 5, I'll just make the take right now that I don't think that he had a shit game in game 5, but I do have secondary takes upon that. Draymond Green in game 4 got benched. He had 2 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. Now, obviously, nobody thinks of Draymond Green as an ultimate scorer in the NBA. Nobody wants him to be the guy that you have to rely on to put up 40 because you ain't going to get it. We know that. But 2 is pretty underwhelming. And additionally, Draymond started playing in a way that looked like he didn't want to shoot the ball. A little bit of the Ben Simmons in Philadelphia kind of theory. Now, Draymond Green plays a different position, so he doesn't necessarily have to have the ball in his hands. So it went a little bit differently. Definitely nobody's questioning his mental toughness either, because Draymond Green's more mentally tough than probably everybody else in the NBA, with the exception of Jimmy Butler. But when I look at Draymond's performance there, I say, holy shit, they're going to have to figure something out to get him started up at least, because he can't just be a non-threat from an offensive perspective. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to get those 8 assists. Like, if you just can stay back at the bucket and let him have the ball wherever, then he's going to be useless. Like, you got to get him going with something. So game 5, they actually did so. To start off game 5, one of the first buckets of the game, they put Draymond in the post, catches the ball, fakes a handoff, whips around, gets to the rim, gets a dunk. Just before that, he had gotten himself an easy layup as well. And at the time of that fake handoff dunk. He goes and puts them up 12-4. Now, you might remember this from the Miami-Boston series. The team that was up significantly in the beginning of the game just kept winning all the games. Golden State started up this game 24-8. There was a point when I'm watching this, I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Right, Michelle comes in. She's like, so how's it going? Well, the Warriors have tripled Boston's score. Babe, that's how it's going. Hey, she knows I just root against the Warriors regardless of who they're playing. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. So Golden State starts this up 24-8. Now, this pretty much continues. Granted, Boston kept it much closer. They were able to keep it to like a 10-point game. There's a spot in the third quarter pretty early on where Jason Tatum hits back-to-back threes, and it brings the score from 51-43 to 51-49. And then not long after that, Tatum hit another three. And I thought to myself, I said, okay, here it is. I've been wanting to see this all goddamn series. Here's my Jason Tatum takeover. Nope, just 3 threes in a pretty short span of time. Not much else. Super disappointing, man. Like, I want to see Jason Tatum come out here and command that he is the best player on this court because, honestly, I think all around, he is. And he keeps coming out here every week, giving us just this kind of game where it's like, oh, he did a thing. And then you don't hear his name again for like the next 12 minutes. It's like, well, what the shit is that? Like, you don't, you're one of the best players in the NBA, dude. Go be one of the best players in the NBA. That's what you're there for. That's what you do. And I get it. I get it that Boston plays team ball, but so does Golden State. And you know what? Steph Curry goes and gets his for the most part. Like, you got to be able to take over to be an ultimate NBA superstar. You have to be able to just take over. And he's done it against other teams. I just don't know why it is that this series, I understood it in game one when he backed off because he was just, his nerves got to him. He was cold. It just was not shooting well. So he just said, nope, hot potato. Every time he touched the ball, boom, somebody else. I got it. From that point on, I don't understand what he's doing because he's one of the best players in the NBA and his shot is going. Take shots, get to the rim, work some action. You're big. You can get to the rim. I know that Draymond's very physical. I know that Kevon Looney is very large. So were some of the other teams you played against. Like, you had some good games against Miami. Bam's not tiny. Jimmy Butler plays really physical defense and is more athletic than Draymond Green. You were able to have successes there. Have success, man. You were better than this. I really want to see Tatum take this thing over. Now, Boston took the lead with 6:27 left in the third quarter. Holds it till basically the end of the third quarter. They lost the lead with 55 seconds left. They got it right back. And then Jordan Poole evidently is going to be the deep-ass 3 captain of the team at the end of the third quarter. Yet again, he sinks one from way, way too far out at the buzzer of the end of the third quarter. Gives the Warriors a 1-point lead going into the fourth. And Boston never gets that back. Again, to begin the fourth quarter, Boston goes 3.5 minutes without scoring any points. You cannot have these periods of time that you do not score against this team. Like, you have too much offensive talent. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, go get yours. And you know what? When they start double teaming, that's when you kick it to the guys like Al Horford, Derek White, Marcus Smart, guys who can just spot up, make a 3. Like, that's what they're there for. That is why they are there. You guys have to take over to an extent. And it doesn't have to be the whole game. It just has to be intermittently at certain points of the game that are very important, like the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter when you're down 1 point in NBA Finals Game 5. That is the time that you do it. That is the time you say, we got to take this game. They didn't. They didn't take it over. So they went 3.5 minutes without scoring. And then to make this even more clear, with 3:30 left in the fourth quarter, Boston had 5 points in the fourth. They had played at that point, what, 7.5 minutes, 8.5 minutes, 7.5. They had 5 points. You can't do that. You will never beat this team by scoring 5 points in a 7.5 minute span. That is not good basketball. Like, whatever you did it wrong. And it's just frustrating to watch. It was just missed shots and missed opportunities, turnovers. It was a mix of everything. Wiggins in this game, 26 points, 13 rebounds. And now the question is starting to arise. Is Andrew Wiggins the finals MVP? I have an opinion on this, and I also have a thought on this. Or really, I guess a secondary opinion. My opinion on this is hell no. Steph Curry's been the MVP of this series because you have to worry about everything that he does. Every time he touches the ball, you have to be on top of him or else he's going to kill you. He had a 43-point game just a game ago. Like, I don't know what this is where Steph Curry now is following behind the lead of Andrew Wiggins. Get out of here. You're wrong. But my second thought of that, can it please be Andrew Wiggins? Because I really hate Steph Curry and I want to hold on to that he's never won a finals MVP. Totally selfish take. Nothing to do with any facts, nothing to do with any stats, nothing to do with any actuality. I just don't want Steph Curry to win a finals MVP. So if they win, I hope Wiggins scores 60 the next 2 games, and so it's worth it. Because otherwise, I don't know how it happens. Steph Curry's clearly been the driver of this series. And with that said, Steph Curry went 0 for 12 from 3 in Game 5. If I have to sum up any one part of this series, when Steph goes 0 for 12 in a game, you have to win that game. There's no getting around that. There's no opposing opinion. There's no other side to it. When you get the game that Steph Curry is off and he can't hit a 3 to save his life, you have to capitalize. You got to win that shit because Steph Curry doesn't give you 2 of those. He almost never gives you 1 of those. The last time he didn't hit a 3-pointer, I think it was 2018. Like, you have to win that. You can't just take the L there. And then it's just further disappointing to me. That's, again, a spot where you look at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You say, you guys have to go make this game yours. It's clearly not Steph's. Go make this your game. And they failed to do so. And here's Steph Curry waving around 16 points with no made threes. And they won the game. So now Golden State's up 3-2. Boston's going to have to win 2 straight. One thing, another reason leading towards where I think that it needs to be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown taking this over. They've relied a lot on Derek White and Al Horford, who have had huge spots in the last 2 series. They really have. Game 1, both of them were awesome. I think Al Horford had 26 and Derek White had 21, if I'm not mistaken. Like that's huge for them in Game 1. Over the course of the last 2 series, they've scored respectively Derek White 11.6 points per game, Al Horford 10.6 points per game. So that's roughly 22 points a game. They combined for 10 in Game 5. Derek White had 1 point. Al Horford had 9. You need the stars to take over because you don't know that you're not going to get that again from Derek White. You might say, well, Derek White, guy's going to come back. He's going to put on the fireworks show. I know this guy. He's a good guy. He's going to go out there, babyface killer. He's going to go knock down threes. He's going to make it rain. Call him Spadicus. That's not Derek White's game. Derek White's a great spot-up 3 shooter, but you cannot rely on him just coming back to form and all of a sudden he's going to throw up 17 for you or he's going to make up for it and throw up 23. Like that, you can't rely on that. You can't rely on Al Horford coming out there and giving you that 26 a night. That's why I said at the beginning of the series, Jason Tatum needs to do better. They're not going to win this series if Jason Tatum doesn't take this shit over. And as the series has gone on, I've even gone back a little bit on this and said, you know what? It can be Jaylen Brown. One of the two of them needs to take this shit over, and I think it needs to be a combination. I honestly think this needs to be a 1-2 punch. This needs to be something similar to when it was LeBron and D Wade back in 2012. I think it needs to be closer to that than it needs to be to one guy taking it over. But hell, if one of them takes it over, it'll be better than what they're getting right now, which is still good production. If you look at the point totals, they add up to decent stuff. Like you look at them, you're going, oh yeah, they're having fine series. They're not though. They're honestly not. Jaylen Brown is. Jason Tatum's off. I'm telling you that he's just not quite right. If Boston is to win, I do think that Jaylen Brown is currently the MVP frontrunner. Because again, Jason Tatum, he's shooting something like low 30s percentage wise, too. Like Jason Tatum has not played very well throughout the course of the series. And granted, that information is prior to game 5. I don't know how his shooting numbers looked in game 5. I know that he had put up some points there. He made a few threes. So his shooting percentage might have gone up because honestly, I don't know that he even took all that many shots. But he hasn't shot the ball well. He has not played Jason Tatum basketball. And Draymond Green has been playing poorly, as poorly as I've ever seen him play in Golden State. And I still see a Warriors team that is winning this 3-2. And honestly, I heard a lot of experts who were just picking the Celtics in 7 coming out of last game going, oh, yeah, Warriors in 6. This isn't going to make it to a game 7. Now, granted, I heard a lot of that after game 5 in the Miami-Boston series, too. Everybody was like, oh, no, Boston's finishing this up in 6. And then Jimmy Butler came out and did the whole thing from Taken where he picked up the phone and gave Boston a call and told him that he has a very particular set of skills. And so he ran into Boston and wrecked them and almost did it again in game 7. And honestly, now that I get to see what it looks like with Boston and Golden State, God, I even more so wish that Miami had won that series because I'd love to see the matchups there. Because frankly, I thought Golden State was winning the shit in 5. Going into this, I legitimately thought that. And now that this series is where it is, I still think Golden State wins this series. Believe me, I don't want them to. But if I'm going just with my head and not my heart, I'm going Golden State. But this has been a way tougher series than I thought it was going to be. I really thought Golden State was going to wipe the floor with Boston. I thought Boston would like sneak a game 3 win, and that was going to be that. Not the case. They did win game 3. I was correct in that particular circumstance. Outside of that, I have not had this series nailed at all. But going forward, when we look at this series, major takeaways. Jason Tatum, get your shit together. Jaylen Brown and Jason, you guys got to take this shit over. Don't make it so that it has to be on your role players. Marcus Smart, impactful on defense again. That's been huge. I want to see that continue. Steph Curry, you're really not going to stop him. Although I will say, I'd rather key off on him and make other people beat you. Because Klay Thompson hasn't shot the way that you're traditionally used to seeing Klay Thompson shoot. He has the ability to miss an open 3. That's something that wasn't there in the past. Draymond Green can't hit a 3. He used to be able to. Jordan Poole, he's looked awesome at times. And I mean, I don't know if you guys remember game 1. I think he had like 5 points, 3 points, something like that. He didn't do a lot at all. I think that you can beat this team if you can slow Steph down because you guys have the best defense in the NBA. It's Boston, Miami. They got 1 and 2. I know that statistically it was Boston and Golden State this year. Golden State's defense isn't as good as Miami's. But when you look at these teams, you got to say, okay, we got the best defense, right? Robert Williams, you take the paint. Everybody else, get the hell out there, guard these guys, watch for cuts, watch what they're doing off ball, especially that little guy, because he's going to be able to get himself open enough for a shot, which for him is just an inch of space. But you got to be there and be active in defending it. He'll miss them occasionally. He's not going to make every single one of them. So, guys, With that said, that's going to conclude Nobody Is Shiftier for this week. Next week, I plan on coming back here, making this shit happen, have some fun with everybody. We're going to try to have a little bit more fun next week, too. I meant to come up with a creative, fun segment for everybody this week. Didn't quite get there. We didn't find our way to it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm, we're going to game plan, and I'm going to come back to you a better Shifty Hippo next week. One that's got an idea, game plan for something that we can do that's fun. And when I say fun, I mean, like, I want to create a segment that's something funny that I see, whether that be something that a fan did, because these fans are all stupid. They're crazy. They're nut jobs. Or whether it be the coach slipped and fell on a towel. Like, there's going to be something that I can talk about and have a lot of fun with. Because for any of you that don't listen to my other show, Jacked and Canned, that I do with John Tessman, John and I, we don't focus as much on the sports as I do here because John doesn't really watch sports. So it would be kind of hard for me to be able to sit there and talk to John seriously about sports for an hour and he has nothing to come back with. He's just like, "Yeah, man. Cool. Cool." So I try to keep most of the intense sports talk for here. But John and I have a lot of fun, and I want to bring a little bit of that to this show because it's really not the Shifty Hippo if it's not fun. Any of you that are coming here that have joined the Thursday night broadcasts of the NFL games during the regular season last year, you know that I bring fun. I'm not just here to break down sports. I'm here to break down fun. So let's have some. You know what? Maybe next week I'll talk about when I got way too drunk on Thursday. We'll do something along those lines if I don't see anything more fun or interesting in the next week. But I plan on doing that on my show tonight, so I don't really want to break it right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Nobody Is Shiftier, part of Breaking Down the Tape Media. Follow me at Jacked and Canned, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook for the time being. I will have a Nobody Is Shiftier site up social media-wise in the near future. But for the meantime, go ahead and follow me on Jacked and Canned. Come check me and John out. We're going to be recording later tonight as well. So if anybody is a fan of both shows, come check us out over there. Once again, this has been Nobody Is Shiftier.